This audio presentation of Unconsciously Freeing the Body by Landone, a course of 16 lessons, is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com, copyright 2017, all rights reserved. Lesson 1. Non-conscious muscle activity. Life, if you allowed it to be lived according to the spirit of your soul, would mean ideal completeness of body structure and ideal perfection of activity of every tissue and organ of the body. But when conscious mind interferes with free expression of spirit, in and through the body, then the body suffers all the ills due to being shut off from the full energy of spirit. And nothing but conscious mind ever interferes. This is supremely important because 1. Free expression of spirit is life, and 2. Repression of conscious mind is death. Spirit in free expression might double the years of man's body, but conscious mind starts the slow dying process as soon as results of its repression have accumulated enough to begin to affect the brain centers through which energies of the body manifest. And even while living under repressed conditions of mind, man cannot fully enjoy life because of lack of energy, lack of buoyancy, and increasing age of body. At first you may think that any ills of body and lessened activity of the tissue and organs are due mainly to the lack of proper food, or to lack of sufficient exercise, or lack of breathing freely and fully, or lack of elimination, etc. But all these are secondary results, not primal cause. The basic primal cause of all misactivities and all lack of activity and all lessened activity is repression by conscious mind. I repeat emphatically, the only reason there is any suppression of normal free activity of life is the conscious mind restricts its expression. Such suppressive restriction begins very early in childhood. Even material means are used. Mothers give soothing syrups to baby to quiet their crying or to calm their restlessness. Yet the crying is essential both for development of the child's breathing capacity and for supply of more blood to expand the brain. And every impulse of restlessness is due either to some restricted condition enforced on the child or to impulses of activity within the brain center, impulses which long for freer expression, to lead to greater development of tissue and organ. Then there is repression of the mind of the child. As it grows, it is cautioned, commanded, compelled not to do this or not to do that, all because conscious mind thinks it is not a proper thing to do. And later, and very soon in life, there come commands not to feel this or that, even not to think this or that. Each such repression of action or feeling, or impulsive expanding desire of the soul, is done to conscious mind. Hence the body, born to be the means of freely expressing a soul of spirit, soon becomes so bound by chains of conscious mind that freedom of expression is seldom regained in later life. This affects health. It may be that every misfunctioning and lack of functioning of the entire digestive and entire elimination system is primarily due to repressed impulses of free elimination at the time elimination should take place. Every repression of an impulse freely to express the normal activity of the emotional nature results in reaction on heart and lungs, liver, pancreas, most deadly of all, on the endocrine glands, the very master of life in the body. In contrast, spirit, manifesting freely through body, results in attaining a limitless freedom of body and soul. Many methods of freeing the body have been tried by those who have reached the years of understanding, and realize how greatly the repressions of the past have hindered the joy of life, and even caused ills and disease of the body. Many methods have been tried by the conscious mind to free the body, for when conditions become too bad, even conscious mind tries to relieve the very ills it has caused. Yet it has never been able to do so because conscious mind can never give up its repressing nature, even in trying to relieve conditions of its own repression. This course is written to give you a non-conscious means of freeing the body so completely that soul may express in fullness, fulfilling the desire of the heart for perfection of the structure and perfection of activity. Lesson 2. Inner and outer muscles. The worst of all the thousands of ills produced in the body, by repression and suppression of the activity of the spirit of the soul, is the tensity of the inner muscles of the body. When inner muscles are tensed, they clamp down on nerves and prevent free flow of energy, thus shutting off energy to this or that organ or tissues of the body, or even to the entire body itself. Let me define for you the term inner muscles and what we mean by it as distinct from outer muscles. The words inner and outer are not technical terms at all. Yet I use them because they will help you clearly to understand what I mean. By outer muscles, I mean the muscles of your arms or legs, or the outer muscles of your neck or your chest or your torso. Outer muscles are those which you can move by voluntary action, that is, by intending to move them. For example, if you wish to reach for a pencil, your intention automatically directs the muscle of your arm and hand and fingers to reach for the pencil. These outer muscles are controlled by your conscious mind. By inner muscles, I mean all muscles, large or small, whose action you cannot control by your conscious mind. That is, muscles along the inside of the back, up and down the spine, muscle fibers of the heart, and of the stomach and intestinal walls, and of every other internal organ of the body. Also by inner muscles, I include all the muscle fibers of all the wrapping of all the nerves or nerve ganglia of the body. These tiny muscle fibers of blood tubes are important. Your very life or death depends upon them. By distension or contraction of the size of blood tubes, they regulate the balanced or unbalanced flow of blood to and from all organs of the body. Hence, they also control the blood flows to brain center. When the blood flow to brain center is lessened, then the activity and energy of that brain center is reduced. Then every organ supplied by energy from that brain center is depleted. This may result only in greatly lessened activity, or even in shrinking of the organ, lessening its size as well as vitality. On a balanced blood flow depend the life and activity of the sex organs, their continuing activity, their size and vitality. Then also normal blood flow is essential for the health and activity of the mysterious endocrine system. So on the balance of blood flow, life itself depends. Often inner tensity affects the tiny muscles of throat and larynx, preventing production of beautiful voice tones. Their inner muscles can become much more tense, and much more continuously and detrimentally tense than outer muscle. They often close down on sheaths of nerves and even on nerve ganglia or brain center, and hinder nerve action and the flow of all energy in the related organ and tissue. Remember that these inner muscles can be tensed much more than the outer muscles of your body can be tensed. The intense tensity of an outer muscle you call a cramp, and you know how very painful such a cramp is in your foot or in your calf or your leg or in the side muscles of a torso. Now imagine such a cramp continuing for 10 years. This often happens in the case of an inner muscle because they are not consciously controlled and there are no specialized nerve fibers of feeling in such inner muscles, and hence they do not report the pain of such a cramp to your conscious mind. So when they are tensed and working all sorts of ill, you usually do nothing to free them, and do not even realize that many conditions from which you suffer are due to such tensities. But whether their cramping is reported or not, so that you know it consciously, the very detrimental effects are produced and continued as long as they are tensed. Lesson 3. The host of ills, easily remedied. All joys you lack in life are due to lack of expression. Lack of expression is always due to repression, which usually begins with such tensing of the inner muscles that soul cannot manifest through your body freely and fully. Perhaps the best way to summarize briefly some of the ill effects produced later in life by inner muscle tensity is to start with few of those which occur in the head, and then list several of the ills that result from inner tensity, plane by plane, down through the body even to the feet. One of the most serious results is on the brain of the body. In the body there are 1. 4 major brains, 1 in the head, 3 in the torso. 2. Thousands of areas of each of these brains. 3. Millions of brain centers on each of these areas. And 4. Hundreds of millions of brain cell groups throughout the body and in every tissue. Every tissue, even your arm muscle, is shot through with millions of tiny brains, each charged with electronic energy. It is not necessary for me to tell you that the brain tissues are composed of cells, which are some of the most finely organized and delicately functioning cells of the entire body. For example, the small brain center of sight is a telephone exchange. From it, 160 million wires run out to carry messages through their interlocking substations to all portions of the brain and every organ of the body. Now let's merely list some of the ill effects of inner muscle tensity, affecting brain structure and brain centers. Tensity of any muscle in the body changes the blood flow. That causes a reaction of the flow of blood to the brain. Then the reaction reacts in the opposite direction. Then also every mental or emotional stimulation of a brain center can cause distension and increase of blood in its related part of the body, even though that part makes no movement at all. 50 years ago, these facts were definitely proven by Dr. Anderson of Yale, who invented the first blood-balanced muscle bed. This is not a good name for this marvelous apparatus. It should have been called the blood flow indicator. But it is still called muscle bed, so I shall use this term. It is now vastly improved, a very delicate mechanism. Even the old muscle bed was so delicately balanced that if but a few extra drops of blood flowed to the toes, the foot or the table would tip down. Or if a little extra blood flowed to the brain, the head of the table would tip down. The table could also tip side to side and diagonally. When a person, placed on such a muscle bed, closes his eyes, and for only 10 seconds thinks of the thumb on his right hand, the extra flow of blood to the thumb is great enough, even without any movement of the thumb itself, to cause the muscle bed to tip toward the right side. So also, whenever an inner muscle is tensed, which means that its fibers tighten and clamp down on the blood tubes in the muscle, its fibers squeeze blood out of the muscle and cause an unbalanced blood flow in the related brain center. If such tensity continues, and in an inner muscle it may continue for years, the connected brain center is overflowed with blood all the time, then very serious conditions result. There can be no headache, there can be no pain in the head, there can be no underfunctioning or overfunctioning of normal activity of any brain center. There can be no abnormal growth in the brain, unless there has been or is an unbalance of the blood flow to the portion of the brain in which the ill condition exists. Before briefly summarizing other conditions resulting from tensity of inner muscles in other parts of the body, please realize that what I have written of brain centers applies to every part of the body, for every minute portion of the body is supplied by blood tubes. There can be no swelling in any part of the body unless the blood tubes in that part are distended by extra blood. The tubes are much larger than their normal size in the tissues in which the swelling occurs. In fact, swelling is nothing but gorging of a part with blood. There can be no pain in any part of the body unless there is swelling of blood tubes. Pain is caused by swollen blood tubes pressing and pinching tiny nerve fibers in between the tubes and the swollen tissues. Imagine the pressure on nerves in any part of the body when its blood tubes are swollen to 3 times their normal size. No wonder the nerves cry out in pain and beg you to do something to relieve the pressure due to the extra blood. When you now think of all the organs of the body, from head to feet, it is easy to understand that the tensity of inner any muscle may affect flow of blood in many parts. Overflow or underflow to ears or eyes and throat and nose, or to lungs or heart, or to liver and kidneys and spleen and pancreas, or to intestines and the sex organs, or to upper limbs or lower limbs, can produce abnormal conditions in each or all of these organs or structures, conditions due to too much or too little blood. There can be no unbalance of blood flow other than that caused by a serious accident, except that which is produced by internal tensity of inner or outer muscles. Tensed outer muscles give up their tensity in a short time, but the inner muscles may remain tensed for years unless relieved by unconscious freeing of the body. Tensity of inner muscles may be due to any one of the many causes: strain of life, reaction to emotions, or monotony of life. Any of these can, and does, cause tensity of inner muscles. But the most frequent and constant cause of such tensity is the continuing, and often increasing, repression of impulses and feelings and activities almost from the day the child is born to well along in later life. Then, in later life, the habit of internal tensity can become so fixed that it seems impossible to remedy it, and it is impossible by all the means usually used. Yet the remedy is very simple. If you use methods which free the body from control of the conscious mind, that is, from continuous restriction of the conscious mind, so that spirit can manifest through the body in fullness and freedom. It is not difficult to secure the results desired, provided you follow the directions in these lessons, to give little conscious attention to what your body may be doing during process of freeing it unconsciously, or non-consciously, or subconsciously. Not only does tensity of inner muscles produce ill effects on the organs themselves, but it is the cause in many general results in life, such as lack of vitality and energy, lack of endurance, and lack of youthfulness. Certainly when inner muscles are tensed in any portion of the body, they react on the nerves, and nerves are the great power lines of the body, which carry spirit energy from brain center to the organ, and tissues to give them life and activity. And when tensity of inner muscles interferes with the flow of power to your outer muscles, then your whole body lacks energy and endurance and power. Also, its activities become limited and restricted, and its cells often become continuously fatigued. Then its cells do not reproduce themselves youthfully. When this inner tensity is continued to such an extent that it even interferes with the blood flow to nerve centers, then you feel inner lifelessness and completely lack the joy of life. And these conditions continue as long as the cause continues. All such fatigue and lack of energy may continue, even though you know that your soul's strength is limitless, and that its power is infinite, because it is of spirit, and spirit is limitless. Nevertheless, it does little good for your conscious mind positively to assert that your soul has limitless energy, when at the same time the very activity of the inner muscles, resulting in greater blocking of the power lines, and making it the more impossible for your soul to express and use its infinite energy. Putting repressive conscious mind to work to free the body of the repression of conscious mind is like putting a bank robber to work robbing banks in order to stop bank robberies. Tensity of the inner muscles, caused by the repression of conscious mind, cannot be freed by repressive conscious mind. Now that you know something of the results of inner muscle tensity on the blood tubes and nerves, it is easy to understand that no abnormal growth could even begin to grow in any organs of the body, unless its perfect blood flow had been hindered and unbalanced for years. Also now, it's easy for you to understand that there can be no decrease of functioning or activity of eye or ear, or any other special sense of the body, or in fact of any internal organ of the body, unless the flow of energy to that part of organ had been lessened, either by the tensities caused by repressive restrictions of the conscious mind, and by lessened discriminative activity of the part due to the same cause. I have not, of course, named 1/10 of the ill effects that result from inner tensity of inner muscles. The principal truth to know now is that such conditions cannot be relieved by conscious mind, but that they can be relieved and freed by non-conscious freeing of the body, which frees it of the restrictions of conscious mind, and lets spirit energy flow through freely. And again, I emphasize that conscious mind cannot even attempt to free inner muscles without danger to the body. Such danger is just as certain as the danger of the conscious mind attempting to count the molecules of carbonic acid which flows into the heart, and then trying to regulate the action of the heart to free the body of that poison. As stated in another lesson, if conscious mind should attempt to do this, it would be just about 2,000 years too late in securing the result, for conscious mind would require 2,009 years to do the counting that must be done in 4 minutes to prevent death. I use the heart only to illustrate the difference between 1. Activity of spirit, and 2. Activity of the conscious mind. And what I write of the heart is true of every organ. There can be no pain or lack of energy in any body part unless nerves are strangled by pressures of swollen blood, or unless nerves are starved because of shrunken blood tubes, bringing too little food to the nerves and adjoining tissue. There can be no abnormal growth unless the tensity of inner muscles has for years pinched blood tubes in one part of the body, so that some other part of the body has been gorged with blood. Thus, at the same time, the flow of spirit from the brain is shut off by pinching of the nerves by the swollen tubes. There is no remedy except to unconsciously free the body from the repressed conditions due to the tensity of inner muscles. That freedom cannot be effected by conscious mind, because consciousness always tends to tense muscles, fibers of the body, instead of relax them. Freedom can come only by spirit flowing freely through body, effecting freedom of structure and perfection of free interactivity. This lesson does not adequately picture to you the great lack of joy in life, the lack of freedom, and the lack of maintained youthfulness caused by internal tensity. This lesson relates mainly to physical ills of repression. Lesson 4. The primal functions of soul in body. The body is understood more fully as the means of expressing the powers of soul if you know its three primal functions. First, there is the function of all brains of the body. Not only the brain in the skull, but also the three in the torso, and the tens of millions of little brain cell groups throughout the body are the generators of spirit. But the word generator is not a true use of its meaning. It was mischosen even for its use in electrical science. It means to give birth, and you know that a dynamo never gives birth to electricity any more than your radio gives birth to sound. Instead of calling brain a generator, we should call it a inspirer of energy. The brain centers of the body are the inspirers of spirit. That is, they take in spirit, the cosmic energy of God. Then the second basic body function is transmission of energy. The nerves of the body are its power lines used by the soul to transmit itself through the body. The nerves are great trunk lines and also tiny power lines to carry the inspired energy of God to every tissue of the body. The third basic function of the body is affected by the muscles, which are the motors of the body. The large outer muscles of the body are motors. Also, the little inner muscles and all tiny muscle fibers working independently in every organ of the body work as motors. These three activities are the basic primal function of the body. When they function, they let soul express through body. Repeat this to make it very clear. First, the great brain centers are as inspirers of the energy of the universe, taking in energy to be used in the body. Second, tens of millions of nerve trunk lines carry the power from the brain center to the motors. Third, in all muscle fibers, whether in internal organs or in great outer muscles, there are actual electronic motors in which the energy of the soul by turning it into action. If nothing ever interfered with these three functions, then there would be such perfection of structure and perfection activity of body throughout life here that the life of the body would probably continue for 200 or 300 years. Internal tensity of inner muscle tightens and presses and crushes blood tubes. They also crush and pinch nerves. Thus, internal tensity of inner muscles interferes with the free flow of energy in the body and may even unbalance the activity of brain centers themselves. Such tensity often completely blocks the flow of energy along the nerve path. Also, it often freezes the energy to a standstill or stagnant condition in the motors, either in brain centers or in the internal organs or in the great outer muscles. Tensity of inner muscles is unintentional murder. It first shuts off life energy from a tissue, then it greatly reduces its activity, next it destroys its very structure. Such death of a tissue is physiological murder. Unconscious freeing of the body is salvation that results in freedom of spirit, manifesting in ever-increasing life. That which is most mystic to biologists and psychologists is not birth, even though birth is mysterious. But the minds of biologists and physiologists, the greatest mystery, the mystic mystery, is death. They cannot understand why, after a structure has been given life, as God gives life to the child at birth, why the structure should not continue to manifest life. Lack of energy is ridiculous self-imprisonment and torture. Growing old unnecessarily is silly suicide. Unconscious freeing of the body frees the energy of spirit and transforms lack of energy, lack of endurance, ill health, and unnecessarily growing old into all their opposites: vitality, endurance, joyous living, health, and youthfulness. Lesson 5. Conscious mind, 2009 years too late. Inner muscles may not relax themselves even in sleep, and since they can be relaxed only by non-conscious activity, it is wise for you to know how miraculously spirit acts with non-conscious intelligence in body tissues and organs. As an example, I tell you of a spirit's action in the heart. When blood flows into the heart from the rest of the body, it is loaded with a poison called carbon dioxide. An electronic system in the heart reports the inflow every minute that such poison-loaded blood flows into the heart. And that system employs several million cells to react to molecules of carbon dioxide as an electric eye reacts to waves of light. Each few minutes they perform miracles which your conscious mind could never perform in more than 2,000 years. This is not exaggeration. As blood flows into the heart, they perform 7 miracles. 1. They count every carbon dioxide molecule of the blood. 2. They report the number of molecules to nerve centers. 3. They add the totals, as by rapid-firing adding machines. 4. They plug in on their private telephone system and report the totals to motor nerve centers in the heart. 5. Then these saved nerve centers act as operation managers. 6. They send messages to heart muscles to beat more rapidly. 7. They reverse the action to slow down the heartbeat as soon as the number of carbon dioxide molecules in the heart is reduced so that such strenuous heart action is no longer necessary. Conscious mind could not do even 1/1000th of this work. Moreover, conscious mind would make thousands of mistakes. And it could not even count 1 billion in 2009 years. That would be more than 2,000 years too late, for unless this work is done in 4 minutes, there is death to the body. In 4 minutes, spirit can and does perform activities which conscious mind would take 2,009 years to do. Conscious mind is the slowest and most stupid activity of soul. It is impossible for conscious mind even to help relaxation of inner muscles of inner organs of the body. Even the attempt of conscious mind causes grave consequence. The non-conscious freeing of the body, worked out years ago to help patients suffering from results of inner tensity, is the only method I know which does free the inner body. Inner relaxation, actual freedom from the tensities caused by repressed feelings, comes only by non-conscious action. But as soon as energies in brain centers and stopped-up energy in muscles are freed, then repressed energies flow freely, restoring, reactivating, and even restructuring nerves and all the tissues that have been deprived of the vital life of spirit. Results of such non-conscious freeing of muscles and nerves seem almost incredible. Real miracles of healing have been wrought by unconsciously freeing of the body of its inner tensities. I stumbled on the secret of freeing inner tensity years ago when, as a neurologist, I found it impossible otherwise to help many pathological cases, and when I knew from my colleagues that none of them were able to do more than what I was doing. We were not then permanently helping 10% of such patients, but with unconscious freeing of the body there were 91% cures. Years later, I worked out the means so anyone could use it easily, simply, and enjoyable in one's own home. I repeat, conscious mind cannot free internal tensity. Conscious mind is the most stupidly slow activity of soul, and then also it always hinders free expression of spirit. But spirit, free of conscious mind, acts non-consciously. Just as in the heart it can work 1,000 miracles, while slow conscious mind is merely getting ready to think about the possibility of getting ready to try to do one of them. Conscious mind is so slow that if you depend on it for action of the inner tissues, the action might be so delayed that it would result in the death to the body. I think you now begin to understand the basis of my previous statement, that often even the attempt of conscious mind to induce relaxation of inner muscles may cause very grave consequence. Such consequences can detrimentally affect every function of the body, excepting only voluntary control of the outer muscles. Conscious mind can also so mal-arrange distribution of blood in brain centers that insanity results, or it can so misfunction endocrine glands that body destroys its own unified activity. Hence nothing perhaps is so dangerous to the joyous functioning and spiritual response of the body as some of the methods of holding thought, and some oriental methods would teach you to hold body activities in the non-active condition. All such efforts are either direct efforts of the conscious mind or efforts decided upon by the conscious mind. They always lead either to unbalanced functioning or to fixed thoughts, an inactive condition of internal organs. It would take a book to present, even briefly, the ills that can result from the concentration effort of conscious mind when you try to use it to help relax your inner body. Relaxation can never come from any conscious mind action. The first reason is 1. Every impulse of conscious mind sent to stop action does not soothingly calm it, but freezes it in fixed activity, crystallizing, hardening, aging the tissue. Conscious mind always fails in trying either to activate or to calm and rest any inner body activity. In contrast, spirit works miracles on non-conscious activities, true spiritual activities in the organs. Vision, for instance, a portion of a large intestine, long, hollow tube, muscle-walled, skin-lined inside and out. A surgeon takes a 4-foot section of such an intestinal tube out of the body of an animal. He keeps it in a glass tank of nutritive water for hours. During that time, that 4 feet of intestine has no connection at all with any nerve center of the body. It is in a small glass tank of water, not in the body. Conscious mind can produce no action in it, but the spirit in its cells can work a miracle. If you push a small rubber ball into one end of such an action of the intestine, it will squeeze the ball along inside of itself from one end to the other. Every day, spirit works hundreds of miracles in your body. Each and all of the endocrine glands, those master glands, those mystic glands of mighty soul power in your body, act only by non-conscious and spiritually impelled power. What man, by taking thought, conscious mind action, can add even 1 cubit to his structure, said the Christ. But spirit is life and works miracles. God is spirit, and I am the way and the life. Lesson 6. The 6,000 billion little motors in your body. There are 6 quadrillion muscle motors in your body. So it is wise that I tell you more of the marvels of the motors of your muscle cells, so that you'll more fully understand how the flow of energy in your body and the mighty manifestation of energy in your body are affected when inner muscles become tense and stay tense for years. There are 2 kinds of muscle cells. Some are smooth cells and some are stripe cells. One great difference is in action. The smooth cells are very strong and work rather slowly. The stripe cells work much more rapidly. A muscle fiber is several muscle cells grouped together. Each muscle fiber is a rather modest athlete. He does not like to work naked, yet he does want to be free of hindrance of heavy clothing. So he clothes himself in a thin, transparent sheath, much like a pair of tights worn by an acrobat. Since each fiber wants to work harmoniously with other muscle fibers, he oils his tights on the outside, so there will be no friction when they group themselves closely together for expert work. Often, these acrobats join and work together as perfectly as a group of acrobats on a vaudeville stage. Many of these form the larger outer muscles. Others form all the inner muscles. Others work alone for the very delicate function of special tissues of the body. All fibers are made up of muscle cells. There are about 6 quadrillion cells in the muscles of your body. But even a tiny muscle cell is not the smallest of the workers of these tiny yet mighty acrobats. Each muscle fiber is made up of very delicate fibrils. Please note that a fibril is only a teeny part of a fiber. At first, the fibril may seem to be the smallest acting part of the muscle, but even the fibril is built up of other parts. And now lift your heart and soul to worship the wonders of God as you marvel at the miracle of miracles found even in a common muscle. Each fibril is composed of 10 boxes, white and dark boxes. They alternate, first a white box and then a dark box. And what do you suppose these boxes are? They are alternating electronic batteries. A motor of 10 batteries in every muscle fibril unit. Or I could designate each as a motor of 10 cylinders. These motors receive the spirit energy that is inspired into the body and brought to them by the nerve wires. No matter how infinitely small they are, for their size, the most powerful motors on earth. So small that 1,000,000 of these motors, each of 10 batteries, could be placed inside the hole in the letter O in this word one. Yet they are so very powerful they do an immense amount of work, and all of them work at a tremendous speed. If playing a violin, the muscle fibers of your left hand will often make 10 movements every second, or 600 a minute. Or if playing the minute waltz on the piano, your right hand makes 750 movements every minute. And the fibers of muscles on the right hand of a great pianist often makes 1,260 movements in 1 minute. And you and I, if speaking rapidly, require the fibers of our muscles of speech to make 25 movements every second. That is 1,500 times every minute. Approximately 90,000 separate movements every hour. It is to help you free these miracle workers from tied-up tensities forced on them by conscious mind that I give you this work of unconsciously freeing the body. Lesson 7. The long gray room and miracles wrought in it. I can give you the clearest idea of just how the work of the subsequent lessons is to be carried on by picturing to you the room I first designed for using this method of unconsciously freeing the body to help patients. Such a room was first arranged over 60 years ago when I was a practicing neurologist. It was fitted up to secure results which I then hoped we could get from its use. It was a room about 30 feet wide and more than 60 feet long. An inner wall was built to cover every window and leave only one door opening to the hall, which led to dressing rooms, one for men and one for women, and 2 other rooms for a woman nurse and one for a male nurse. Walls inside were soft gray and the ceiling was gray. All lights were hidden behind frosted glass. Then the floor of this room was covered with mattresses which were sewed together so that the entire room was covered. On top of the mattresses was a soft gray carpet was laid. There was not even one piece of furniture in the room, nothing to sit upon and nothing to look at. A patient suffering, sometimes for years, from a nervous strain, or from inactivity of a leg or arm, or from other seemingly incurable troubles due to inner tensity of maladjustment, or from mental conditions due to feelings of frustration in life, was first taken to a dressing room. Then, clothed only in a sheet, he was taken to the door of the long gray room. When he entered, the sheet was taken from him and the door was closed. He was left alone, not disturbed, for 1 hour. I am certain you begin to see the significance of this. With soft light, gray walls and ceiling, gray rug over mattressed floors, nothing to do except sit down on the soft mattress floor, he was left to wait until he felt like doing something. The instructions given beforehand were these. Don't care a rap whether you think or not. Just wait until you feel some impulse to move. And then respond to the impulse, but take no particular thought about such action, whatever it may be. Let your body move in the way the impulse from within you impels you to move. The soul within you knows more of conditions within your body than I do. It knows how you ought to move. The results, even from the very beginning, seemed incredible. And still more amazing were the reports later given to me confidently by the patients themselves. No one else ever knew anything about what a patient did or felt. The person, for example, who had a semi-paralyzed leg, felt like doing nothing the first 3 times an hour each. The 4th time he began twisting his right shoulder. He told me he twisted it in more peculiar ways than he had ever dreamed any man could ever move his shoulder. Later he began to move the right side of his torso and back, twisting and turning, even rolling himself into a ball and then straightening out again. Each time in the room some different action was impelled. He never tried to think of starting any such action, but merely waited until some impulse urged him to move. Sometimes he moved the left leg, but for weeks there was no impulse to move the right leg, which was numb and inactive. Then the 7th week he made a discovery. He could move his right leg much more than he had for 11 years. Within 4 months that leg had regained complete activity, and also a strength that was equal to the other leg. Another case of which I think it wise to tell you is that of a young man of 22 years. He had suffered great disappointment in love, so serious it was almost impossible for him to sleep. He was awake so much of each day and night that both nurses and myself began to fear for his sanity. His first confidential report to me after he spent the first hour in that long gray room ran something like this. I didn't do anything at first, but kept wishing I had a chair to sit on. Squatting is uncomfortable. Then, strangely, I began looking over my body, and realized it was a better-formed body in better condition than I had thought. Next, I just stretched out my legs, lay back to rest myself from the squatting, which had become very discomfortable. Then I stretched my arms. I do not remember just how I began stretching them, but it was strange twisting. Then Mr. C came in and awakened me, for I had gone to sleep. A week later he reported, "It's always about the same, but this time I did not move arms and legs so aimlessly in different directions before going to sleep. Instead, I discovered I was moving muscles of my abdomen here and there every way, as though I were a little boy of 9 trying to find out how many different ways I could pull the walls around, to right or left, up and down. That's the last I remember before I went to sleep again. What the results would be I did not know, but I was certain that whatever the young man would ever do in that long gray room would be the thing which Soul knew should be done, to free the tensities of inner muscle to help draw away surplus blood from the brain center that forever continued thinking I was disappointed in love. In 4 weeks he was sleeping home from 12 to 14 hours a day, and in 9 weeks he felt normal mentally and was a very greatly improved physically. Then for a few weeks during the quiet hour in the long gray room he ceased moving much, but instead his mind was flooded each time with many new ideas and many different interests in life. He remarked one day, "It seems that as soon as I lie down and become quiet, I am a creator. So many new ideas come to me." At the end of 4 months he was happy, joyous, and normal again. It was some years later, after I had studied considerably more of truth than I had prior to that time, that I worked out the method so any person can attain the benefit of unconsciously freeing the body by himself in his own home. Certainly, it is not necessary for you to fit up any such room as I have designed for patients, and I have found that it is not necessary. It is a help, but not an essential. I have substituted something which should be used each time before you begin to wait for impulses to move. I now repeat a little of what I have written and add a little to clarify what you do to free the body. When an outer muscle cramps, it prevents you from being yourself so long as it lasts. It may make you hop and yell, and while it lasts, it is impossible to give your attention to anything else. When an inner muscle becomes tensed and cramped, it also prevents you from being yourself, from doing anything well. But since feelings of the inner muscle are not known to your conscious mind, you are not conscious of its tense condition, although it may have continued for years. Freeing of the body can free you of all inner cramping and work miracles because of the freed energy of spirit. But first, it is not a system of stretching exercise. In fact, there are no exercises of any kind. When there is movement, stretching or whatever it may be, the activity will come only from some soul impulse and not from your conscious mind. Second, after the movement has started, you will be conscious of it, but your conscious mind will not start it. With no effort of thought, your soul will lead your body to do what it most needs to do, and you may not even be conscious of what you are doing until after you begin doing it. Third, vision a true idea of how real inner freedom feels. At first, there is a consciousness of heaviness in the body. With true relaxation, there is never a feeling of lightness, for when the body relaxes, it wants to slump down and rest. Fourth, you may find it strange that at first, perhaps for days, there will be more fatigue than usual. If so, good. It means your inner muscles are letting go. Since they are no longer trying to keep going, the new tiredness is not a fatigue of exhaustion, but the fatigue of rest, cells no longer pretending, but truly letting go of rest. If such fatigue comes to you, bless it, do not worry. It is soul rest for your nerves, and as soon as they are rested in this way, the body will respond amazingly to its impulses. Fifth, realize that your soul is infinite, and that it is enfolded in God's infinite love. This suggests what your attitude should be in this work. Always feel that God's love is enfolding you, inspiring you, impelling you to use that particular movement which you need to use, to free your inner body, to let Spirit act freely. Lesson 8. The need of more expression of Spirit. For every lack in health, one needs to express more of the soul's energy through the parts of the body which need healing. For more abundance, one needs greater consciousness of power in handling conditions and other people. For companionship or mateship, one needs more adaptable responsiveness in joyously and continuously manifesting more of Spirit to others. For joy of life, One needs spiritual impulsiveness, manifesting constantly and unlimitedly through the body. For unity with God and the highest spiritual attainment, one needs the true spiritual responsiveness of the body so that one can receive illumination of spirit and readily respond to it. For all of the above, there is need not only of responsiveness of body, but of brain centers also. If brain is not responsive enough to spirit, then there's lack of thought, lack of feeling, lack of high ideals, lack of inspiration, lack of consciousness of peace and love and joy and power. Study and often restudy the next 4 sentences. In spirit, my body is the holy temple of my soul. In individuality, my body is the instrument of my soul. For it is by use of parts of my body that I can produce words, tones, and actions. And they are the only means which can make me likable to others, the only means which I can express my love to others, the only means by which I can express power in establishing and maintaining myself with others. In action, my body is the motor my soul uses. In youthfulness, my body is the radiance of my soul. More than bones and flesh, it is the living spirit and expression. Attainment of all the above desired conditions is blocked by all tensed conditions of inner muscles, which tend to prevent all expression of soul energy. Our purpose is to free the tensity for greater expression. To follow directions of succeeding lessons effectively, first learn the difference between direct thinking and imagining. Direct thought tenses the body, but imaging frees it. But imaging, as I teach it to you in these lessons, leads out to ideals beyond self. Hence it prevents your thought from being directed toward your inner self. Imagining is the first step leading out to ideals beyond the self. It frees inner muscles instead of tensing them. Begin by imaging the immensity of your soul. To begin to relieve internal tensity, to release blocked-up conditions, and to free limitless energy. Have you ever thought of the size of your soul? You have heard it said that the soul is infinite. You believe it, but when you try to think it, it is difficult, even though you repeat the thought many times. Now try imaging the immensity of your soul. First look at your body. It may be 14 to 20 inches across the shoulders. It may be 5 feet to 6 feet tall. And for years you have been trying to find your infinite soul inside that little body. It does not make sense. Infinity cannot be crowded into such a little body. So what is the truth of the relationship of soul and body? Your body is only the focal point of your soul. It is the point from which your soul extends infinitely out from your body and far beyond your body. A stove is the focal point of the heat of the fire in it. The heat is the spirit of the fire. It radiates far out beyond the stove. The heat fills the entire room. The stove is only the focal point from which it radiates. So also your body is but the little focal point from which your soul, as spiritual power, radiates out beyond the body. Image another picture of the limitlessness of your soul. Your soul is the radiating activity of spirit. It is made like unto the activity of God. Image God as the infinite spiritual activity of the universe, always radiating out from his focal point of his existence. All higher energies radiate, shine out from a center. There is no energy of the universe that does not radiate. God is radiant spirit like the sunshine of the sun. The sun is only a focal point of the sunshine. The sunshine fills all space, 93 millions of miles out to Earth, 143 millions of miles to Mars, 482 millions of miles to Jupiter, and all space millions of millions times farther beyond Earth and Mars and Jupiter. The sunshine you feel is the soul of the sun. It is not enclosed within the sun, it exists beyond the sun. So also your soul is not enclosed within your body. Your body is but the focal point of your soul's radiation. Image it in another way. Image your soul as the radiance of a spiritual broadcasting station. Whatever is broadcast is never inside the station itself. Its electronic waves radiate for thousands of miles in all directions, so that music broadcast from a station in New York can be heard in London, Rio de Janeiro, Delhi, or Cairo, as well as in every home in your own land. Your soul is spiritual radiance, never confined in your body. Spend 2 minutes each night and morning imagining your body as the physical focal point from which you, as spiritual power, are radiating out beyond that little body. Spend another 2 minutes each night and morning realizing your soul is spiritual radiation, infinitely surrounding your body and penetrating to every cell, but never enclosed within so little a thing as a body. Take this first step to lead your thought away from your body, so that you will no longer cause spiritual stagnation within the body because of conscious mind's effort to make you believe that your infinite soul is squeezed and packed inside a little body. Freedom of concept of soul leads to freedom within the body. Begin as above to prepare for freedom in expressing soul. Lesson 9. The vision before the action. The second step is to begin to unite the ideal of your body with your ideal of your infinite soul, ever flowing out from God. What now follows will take the place of the long gray room. This is the vision of change, from frozen ice to growing life. Vision 2 great hillsides, a valley between, and a river blocked up by caked chunks of ice and masses of frozen snow. Vision the infinite power of the sun and its increasing warmth with the coming of spring. Vision the warm sunshine melting the ice and snow. Vision the power of sunbeams freeing locked up masses. Vision the power of gravity pulling water downstream. Vision the water, destroying nothing, yet washing out and carrying away all clogged and dammed up ice and snow, becoming a river of majestic power flowing freely to its destiny. Night and morning, repeat this visioning of winter and hillsides of snow, frozen ice of a river, the coming of spring, warmth of the sun, melting of the ice, the free-flowing river. Vision is so many times that you can think it at any time. Then vision dams of snowed-in thoughts and frozen feelings, and divine love around you melting and washing out all ice. The river of life flowing down between beautiful woodland and fields, grass and flowers growing with new life, the soul of earth awakening and expressing itself. Vision this also until it becomes so habitual that you can recall it in an instant. Use these visions whenever you begin any of the work that follows in subsequent lessons. Think often, in my body there is no hindering tensity, no blocked-up feeling, no frozen thought that cannot be melted by the warmth and love of God and the joy of my own soul. The powerful flow of my soul flowing in a stream of life out from God is awakening to new life, freeing it to grow anew, to manifest freely, to fulfill its density. Lesson 10. Understanding relaxation and divine indifference. Freeing the body is the soul's natural process. 1. Of laying thought quietly aside. 2. Of releasing the tensity of inner muscles. 3. Of freeing the body to respond. 4. To the soul's impulses to move freely. We know for truth of the effects of direct thinking. 1. Mental strain tenses muscles greatly. 2. All effort thinking tends to tense muscles. 3. All direct thinking is effort of the mind. 4. Direct thinking turns thought to the soul self. Hence, you cannot relax by thinking you are going to relax. Such effort is a contradiction in itself. For every thought does tense one muscle or another. Every mind reader knows that, and you cannot relax from tensity of thought by more tensity of thought. When you think of relaxing, you may induce the larger outer muscles to let go for a while, but you tense the inner muscles. The second step to freedom was given in the preceding lesson. The third step is to learn divine indifference. If you feel, I don't care a rap whether I relax or not, you at once free yourself of the effort of trying to relax. And then the body can really begin to relax. There is also a difference, 1, between adjustment done by others for you, and 2, adjustment from within by your own soul. When organs or bones are displaced by accident or strain, they should be readjusted by others or by conscious exercise. But 99% of all maladjustments are caused by tensity of inner muscles, which pull inner tissues out of place. And no one can free your tensed inner muscles for you. Soul knows which inner muscles are tensed. With unconscious freeing of the body, the soul frees them, so each misplaced organ or tissue adjusts itself normally and keeps itself in place. By day, look to the sky. By night, look to the stars to realize, my soul is infinite. I do not care a rap whether or not I try to free my body. Soul is free. Let it free my body. Lesson 11. Vision thinking that does not produce tensity. I have already led you to realize the limitless extension of the immensity of your soul surrounding and permeating your body. In that lesson, I asked you not to think of the immensity, but to image its immensity, to picture it as infinite spirit radiating from your body as a focal center. Just as electronic waves radiate for thousands of miles out beyond a broadcasting station, which is nothing but the focal point of the radiation. Yet now I ask you to think, but to think in a visioning way. Vital, vivid thought is picture thinking, imaging something outside the self, that is, in terms of something else. Such thinking takes thought away from the self, free self. Think of your soul as a soul beam shining out from God, so radiant that it cannot be shut up inside your little 2x6 body, any more than a rainbow can be shut up in an ink bottle. Think without letting your conscious mind tie you down to limited fixed thoughts, for they always tend to create a subconscious conflict within the soul. Your soul wishes to express infinity. Your conscious mind is always trying to cork it up, and hence its efforts create conflict within you. Think clearly. My body is very small. My soul is infinite. Think definitely. My body is only the focal point of my soul's expression, merely the point from which I manifest in life. Think honestly. Since I know that my soul is infinite, I know that it surrounds my body as well as acts through it. Think vividly. My soul is a stream from God. It is an actual stream, continually flowing out, radiated by God, infinite power, capable of meeting every need. All problems, business, personal health are first worked out in the soul, then the body acts to express the result. Reread this lesson once a day, for at least 7 days as the third step in preparing to unconsciously free your body. Lesson 12. The preparatory preparation. Relaxation is a result. You cannot free the body by relaxation. Instead, you free it for relaxation, to attain the result of freedom of body for greater freedom of the soul in action. The following is the initial view of preparatory preparation. First, choose a time, preferably at night or early morning, when you can be alone in your own room for this work. Second, remove restricting clothing and arrange bedclothes that you will not hinder your movement or even suggest that you are tucked in or held down by them. Third, lie down for quiet rest and close your eyes. Vision your own soul as sunlight surrounding and penetrating your body. Fourth, vision again 2 great hillsides of life. Vision the infinite sun power of your own soul melting all obstructions and letting life flow freely through your body. Fifth, then wait. Sixth, if and when an impulse comes to you, then move. Do not think of what you ought to do or ought not to do. When you feel like moving, do so. I do not advise stretching or any other activity. I advise only that you wait and follow the impulse. If it is an impulse to move, then move, for such an impulse is a divine voice of your soul, indicating the particular movement necessary to release the dammed-up energy in your body. If there is vigorous movement, do not stop it, so long as the movement comes from an impulse to move. Seventh, if you feel no impulse to action, be content and bless God, for soul is resting inner nerves. Spiritual impulse is the test. It is the result of God wisdom. What you or what I think is tinged with lack of conscious understanding, but the impulse of spirit is divine direction. Lesson 13. Initiate the freeing action. The preceding lesson gave the vision of the work of this one. This lesson tells of action to fulfill the vision. Begin now the actual unconscious freeing of your body, to free each and all tensities of all inner muscles, to free all unbalanced blood flow, to free all nerves of all conditions that hinder the free flow of soul's energy through your body and out of your body into joyously free expression. Carry on the work as given in this lesson for 2 weeks, each night for the 2 weeks, or each morning if you prefer, although in life as lived today, it is wiser to do it at night before you go to sleep. And also before your prayer for unity with the infinite. For this work it is necessary to have a room for yourself while freeing the body, and always better to use a wide bed. Nevertheless, do not worry if your bed is narrow, for after all, the real work is done from deep within your soul. When you have things arranged for the night, so there is nothing more for you to attend to, then, when quietly undressed, lie in the bed without any intention of making any definite movement, and also without intending not to do so. First, vision the change from the frozen ice to the flowing river of life. Vision that vision first. It in itself may be enough to start the freeing process, for it leads all conscious thought away from yourself to the images you vision. The actual step is willingness, unconsciously to respond in action to any awakening subconscious impulse to move. Feel as free as possible, soul, mind, body free. Then just wait, ready to feel any impulse awakening in you and willing to move any part of the body in any way. And above all, when an impulse comes, do not try to direct any responding movement by conscious mind. Let conscious mind recognize it, but not direct it. Let free activity follow every impulse to move. Roll, twist, stretch, any movement you feel like doing, any part of the body or all of it. If excessive activity is what your body needs, the outer muscles will be very active. You may pull your body this way or that, roll up in a ball, twist your neck as though trying to pull it from your body. Put your head between your knees, etc. Continue responding to any impulse that comes until you feel within you that you want to stop and pray and go to sleep. And if there is no impulse at all, that also is good, for it means that in your condition, inactivity is best for the time. Your soul knows what your body needs most, so the first few nights may be times of quiet. But let action come, if there is an impulse to move. You can tell when a movement comes from impulse, because at such a time something within you seems to make you move. If action is due to your conscious mind, it will follow some idea such as, I think I'll do this or that. But impelling desire is from the soul. You will move first, and then afterwards recognize that you are moving. And how long should you continue this? Continue this phase of the work each night for 2 weeks. Then follow suggestions given in the next lesson. And how long should you continue the work which follows? Perhaps a month, perhaps a year. Continue until you are free, until all ill conditions are remedied. Continue until your soul expression is so free and powerful that it changes your body and frees your soul, so that you are healthy, so that organs are vital, inactive parts are active again. Continue until you are capable of handling every personal or business problem you are called upon to handle. Then, every morning, give a few minutes to idealizing the immensity of your soul, infinitely greater than your body. Imagine your soul so infinite that you can look on spirituality and seemingly observe the attitude of your body and actions of your body without feeling bound to them. This should not result in a sense of detachment from your body. Instead, it should be consciousness of the immensity of your soul enfolding and permeating your body, consciousness that your soul is so much greater than your body through which it manifests, that you, the soul, are free to use any power of your soul to note what the body is doing and even enjoy what it is doing. Lesson 14. Greater space for freer movement. After your first 2 weeks of freeing your body on your bed, seek a larger space, for your subconscious mind may hold back some impulses to move unless it knows that there is ample space for more extended and freer movement. For the extended freedom of space, move furniture back near the walls to give the largest possible free floor space. Spread a blanket or a quilt or comforter on the floor. Remove most of your clothing and lie on the floor for a few minutes. Vision again the visioning given in Lesson 9. Then wait for some unconscious impulse to move. Then stretch or pull or twist your body just as you did when on the bed, but never unless you feel like doing so. After 10 or 15 minutes, if you feel drowsy, go to bed. Or if you receive a spiritual hunch of how to solve a certain problem, go to bed to let your soul complete the plan for you unconsciously and without effort while you sleep. Or if you feel an inflow of energy to do some work that needs to be done, do it, but only if it is convenient to do it and will not disturb others in the home. Often when I feel tired, I lay down intending to sleep. But after a few minutes of unconsciously freeing of my body, such inflow of energy comes that I get up, do hours of good work. Most fatigue is not due to need of sleep. It is not due to any wear and tear in the body. Most of our desire for sleep is due to inner tensity or to the monotony of work we have been doing. Whatever you do, after the impulsively initiated movement on the floor will be best for you. If your nerves need rest, you will feel motionless and drowsy. If it has this effect, free the body before you go to bed. If your nerves need awakening, you will feel inflow of energy. If it has this effect in your case, then perhaps it will be wise to change the time of freeing the body and do it in the morning so that you can use the newly awakened energy during the day. Caution, keep warm. If weather is cold or room is cool or floor drafty, do not use the floor but continue work in bed. Sometimes when freeing the body, you will feel impelled to act ridiculously, yet this may be divine wisdom. What is ridiculous for an adult is often joyously normal for a child. And if impulsive energy has been imprisoned deep within you since childhood and is now striving to express itself, let it free itself even though the movements seem ridiculous. Note what I did one day when I was a child. I was an invalid in a wheelchair during most of my first 17 years of life. I was able to walk a little only now and then. One day when 7, I put my little fist through one window pane after another, and there were small panes difficult to smash. Adults said I was destructive. I could not understand myself. But now I know what impelled action. In my condition, breaking window panes was neither right nor wrong itself. My soul was longing for action. Others were wrong to repress my energy by keeping me in bed. Such an outburst of energy in breaking window panes was just what was needed at that time to make me know that I did have strength. When doctors and nurses kept insisting I did not have enough energy to get well, that is, that there was no hope of my living more than a few months, that action of my childhood was due to continuously repressed activity. Doctors, nurses, everyone kept me from doing anything. They were sincere, afraid I'd tire myself, make myself worse. But if anyone at that time had known of the method I now know of unconsciously freeing the body, all my repressed energy could have been expressed easily, joyously, and freely, and it is probable that I would have become well 10 years before I did. 10 years later, at 17, I was still not expected to live 3 months, the same verdict every month since childhood. And to help you realize more fully the miracle that are wrought when repressed energy is freed, I think I should tell you more. It was only when I experienced emotional explosion against an injustice that I awakened enough energy to get into such activity that as a result, I was well within a year. freedom of the soul in expression is the only means by which life of spirit can come into action. Freeing the body, restructuring it, reactivating it, giving new life and new joy in living and new power in attainment. Lesson 15. Trust spirit. If no action, it is good. For a time, there may be no need of activity of other muscles, and hence no such activity in your case. Hence, for many nights, you may lay quiet with no action of external muscles at all. If this happens, then motionless quiet is what you need. Follow the subconscious impulse it is. If for movement, move. If for quiet, lie motionless. Trust spirit in you. It knows every little tensed muscle of your inner body. It knows just what inner or outer action, just what feeling will most quickly and completely free you. Soul knows every congestion of blood due to inner tensity, and what is best to free the tensity causing it. It knows just what portion of your body, what organs of your body are thrilled with energy, so that they are overactive, or deprived of energy, so that they are weakened. And it will impel you to do exactly what should be done for the best and quickest result for you. No impulse to move will come unless it should be followed, for the soul is divine and knows what is needed. As you continue the work, soul and body become one, and your divine power comes into actual manifestation. Do not be concerned if after one period of action there follows a period of no impulse to make any movement at all. There are periods, sometimes lasting a few hours, sometimes days, sometimes for weeks, during which the nerves, like trees in wintertime, need complete rest for inner growth. If you have been impelled to make certain movements for a day or a week, and then they cease for a time, it is evident the previous movements have freed certain inner muscle growth to give their nerves a time for winter of inner growth. When more movement is needed, it will come. Since you do not consciously know when action is needed, keep up the work each day, knowing that movement or no movement is beneficial, for the soul knows when each is needed. Lesson 16. The spiritual attitude of life. Continue freeing your body, for the more the body is freed of inner tensity, the more the soul manifests fully and freely. I myself have used this unconscious freeing of the body for 3 generations. I shall continue to use it, just as I shall continue to breathe air, as long as I have a body. Respond to soul impulses. In freeing the body, each impulse comes from the spirit, and the physical movements are not but responses to that complete consciousness of the soul that knows what each part of the body should do to free conditions within. The important thing is response to the impulses of spirit. Respond, and you will marvel at the results in yourself, for freeing the body, for free flow of divine energy gives the freedom necessary for the soul to do the particular thing needed to be done, and the inspiration of how to do it. This is more than relaxation, 1,000 times more. It is the spiritual freedom of soul manifesting spirit. From the greater, freer flow of spirit in the body comes all the results of greater expression of energy and spirit. First comes the feeling of becoming free, then the freeing of fixed ideas of the mind, or the freeing of stiffened muscles, then awakening of new activity, the revival of vitality in every organ of the body, a new restructuring of the tissues, in fact, a new youthfulness. When more spirit flows through body, transformation takes place. Then other freedoms follow. Freedom from all the repressions of the past, a new life, with new freedom of joy and responsiveness to joy such as you have never known before. The more you free yourself from the consciousness of separation, the more you manifest the Spirit of God in unity and purity. I write this because sometimes when freeing the body, a new feeling of sex is awakened to consciousness and vitality. If it comes in your case, it will come. 1, because all cells of the body need the life and vitality of divine sex energy all through the body to rejuvenate it. Or 2, because you lack assertive power in dealing with others. Or 3, because you lack creative ability in handling these things or conceiving new ideas or ideals. Or 4, because you need to stop condemning sex and need to be spiritually awakened so that you will idealize it as a divine impulse of life from God. Idealize it instead of condemning it. When you condemn anything of the soul, you separate it from God in your consciousness, and thus you create a dual world of conflict within yourself instead of soul harmony unified with God. It is good, for it is life, the creative power of God. Since God is all there is, all that He created is good. Hence, if this new awakening comes, idealize it and accept it as the particular power you need most at this time to reawaken new means of new life for you to create your body anew. Then often another awakening comes, perhaps quite unexpectedly, a tremendous new consciousness of love that reaches out to others as has never reached out before in your life. It may be love not only for those near you and for those whom you know, but also an expanding love like the love of Christ. And it may seem strange, and yet when it awakens, you will know that it has always been deep within your infinite soul. And that, with the body freeing itself, and more of the soul expressing itself, the more of the love of the soul also comes into expression. Then, too, you may experience another kind of awakening, a true spiritual illumination of spiritual feeling within. And communication also, not a mere message in words, but something greater and grander, the feeling that you are actually in spirit, completely enfolded in spirit, communing spirit to spirit with all the great souls of all ages of the past, informed by them, guided by them, protected by them. Accept such communion of the saints of spirit, and greatest will be the awakening of communion with God. End of lesson. End of book.